it should be up on your wiki with a link to it so people can see it, but get it to us because that's the easiest way to do it by the midnight deadline. Just email it to us, but get it up on your thing. Okay, where's, you can tell I don't have my glasses on
I have one question.
here. Yes?
Were there any further chapters in the Myth and Month beyond the ones we've already read?
There are
Deadline, I mean.
there are other chapters, but there's.
I mean, for the deadline, what we're reporting.
Oh, well, actually, the deadline for reporting and reading is going to be next week, and that's going to be the whole book. So I've been had breakdowns, yeah. Basically, the chapters that were assigned for reading are all that you have to read, and those, you should have the whole book done by class next Monday. Yes?
So we only need to read the chapters that were assigned to us, and that's all we need to report, saying we read those chapters for that.
Yeah, you only have to read the assigned chapters, and they're on the class calendar. You're welcome to read the rest, but the rest, for various reasons, I thought were a bit too archaic. But there they are. Okay, the Webster readings. This is an article I wrote for Byte Magazine 22 years ago. The real software. How many of you have had a chance to read this already? Okay. In fact, Finn came up to ask me about it. It's great. What's the issue here? Here is what you need to understand. There is a real issue concerning talent and productivity within software engineering. There have been various studies done over the year that even holding steady for experience, education, and so on, have shown productivity differences among developers anywhere from 2 to 1 to 26 to 1. And the average of such studies is usually up to 10 to 1. But you can take two software engineers who have the same education, have the same professional experience, and one will literally produce 10 times the amount of working code than the other. Now, the problem is that there aren't a lot of people who are naturally gifted at this, but there's a tremendous demand for people in IT. So you have this giant sucking sound, if you will. You've got people drawn in. You have coding boot camps. You have, yes, let's get everyone to code. You can you can earn a living as a programmer. And you have a lot of people drawn into the IT industry, software engineering and all of IT, who, I'll be very blunt, really aren't very good at it. Now, I'll say this right up front. Usually around this point in this class and prior semesters, I start getting panicked looks on the faces of some of my students. And my standard line is, if you are a senior in the CS program at BYU, don't worry. You have all the talent you need to succeed as a software engineer. Yeah.
But we may just be mediocre. Is that the point of this article? It kind of seems like it.
No, because what you'll find, here's the genesis of it, and I mentioned this in the article. Back when I was an undergrad, took CS 404, I think it's called 505 now, Computers in Society. That's the 404. It's 404 still, okay. I took CS 404. It was taught by Tad Norman, who is a former department chair, and I can't remember the other teacher. I should look at my notes. He wasn't a professor. He was someone who, like me, had worked in industry for many years. And he was taking a year off, just a break from industry, and had contacts here at BYU, so he was a visiting professor for a year. And we got in 404 in a section on, certification and licensing, and should programmers be certified or licensed, and so on and so forth. And he looked us over and he said, here's something which you may not believe, but it's true. He said, if you knew which ones to pick, you could take half of all the people out there working in the computer industry right now, in data processing. He says you could take them out and shoot them. And not only would no deadlines be missed, a lot of them would be advanced. And I graduated about 2 years later and went to work and found out he was right. And I don't say that from arrogance, but one of the first pieces of code I had to look at and do something with, it was at General Dynamics, San Diego. We're doing military and space-related stuff. I mean, I worked on cruise missile simulators, large space structure stabilization, Bayesian analysis of radar signals. But one of the first pieces I looked at was something that one of the programmers there had done, and it was about 100 lines of Fortran, and it had about 20 go-to statements in it. And I looked at it and thought, who wrote this? And then I found out who wrote it. And I didn't say that out loud. But I found out just how bad a lot of the code out there is, and frankly, how bad a lot of the programmers out there are. And I don't say that from a place of arrogance. I say it from a place that the problem is we have such a tremendous demand for people working in software engineering and related fields that a lot of people who really aren't very good at it manage to get out there and get jobs and stay there. And it is one of the reasons why there is so much bad code out there. There are other reasons. A lot have to do with management. We've talked about some of those, and we'll talk about more. How many of you in your work experience to date have picked up, well, if some of you have already mentioned it, but how many of you have had to pick up existing code and you've looked at it and said, this is really bad code? Yeah. Okay, where did that come from? Why is there really bad code that you're having? I mean, that was a significant percentage of the class. You're not even graduated yet. Yes?
Some of it comes from bad programmers. Also, some of it comes from management.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know there's good developers who will sometimes cut corners because they're just like, hey, we need to have it yesterday. So like, well, we'll come back and do it later. But there's never later.
And that was part of the point. I said sometimes it's bad code because of management, but sometimes it's bad code because it's sure. Then we'll go back there.
Yeah, so there was one place I worked for where they had a different software company just hired out for one specific project. And the code that we got from it, it was so bad that I literally had to pull out another tool to like analyze their code. Like to get all the data structures and classes and everything else and just kind of lay them out because it was just almost nonsensical.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it can be really easy and sometimes tempting to rag on previous programmers because it displaces a lot of the blame with that, and that is a legitimate issue, right? But sometimes I've had some experiences where it's just, honestly, our knowledge of good coding has advanced since last time this code was touched, right? And so we come in with new ideas, better practices that we can take to it, and so then just by the virtue of it being old, we won't get to it.
Yeah, except that I would say we had great standards of good coding 40 years ago. A lot of which are still not adopted. I mean, there are some. I agree with you that there are things we have learned, but trust me, I have several hundred books at home that date back to my undergrad years on programming, on theory of programming, on software engineering, on various technologies, and so on. There were some good standards that were established as early as the 60s. By some of the leading articles talking about various approaches to software engineering. And it is sad how few of those have been adopted. Yes?
I was going to say, company I'd worked for, they had outsourced to India and got some really good code that had lots of misspellings and just like everything was.
And the problem here is that the problem with outsourcing in general is that companies that do outsourcing are usually competing on price, which means the companies that are hiring are competing on price. I have known some outstanding, you have, like any group, I have known outstanding developers in any cultural, ethnic, racial, whatever background you want to name. But the problem with a lot of the outsourcing model is that usually the outsourcing firm is trying to get low-level coders that they can get cheap. Whereas all the really good ones have already found jobs elsewhere and are being paid a lot more. There are a few more hands up. Yes?
My favorite, because my company decided to try outsourcing for a little bit. They did it for 2 months and decided that it's cheaper and more effective use of the company's time to hire a single developer than it would be to outsource.
Yeah.
My favorite story from that, though, is there was a problem with our authentication system where you put a $sign in your password, it would authenticate you. And their solution was to put return true in the password checking algorithm. So it would always validate them as having a correct password.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm probably not working on this deal here right now, especially on like certain labs at BYU where they but after reflecting, my worst code has always come from me focusing on trying to get an A on a project. My goal has been get an A, and that does not, like, you can get an A and have a steaming pile of junk for a code base.
I don't care what it does, just that it does it.
Yeah, just make it work.
Okay, now I have a follow-up article, and we'll get through this quickly. That went on a little longer than I expected. If you read this one, TEPIS is an acronym for Talent, Experience, Professionalism, Education, Skills. This is basically the checklist that I look at when I've had to screen someone to be hired as a consultant, or when I developed this while pretty much hiring developers and pages. It took me a year and a half. I went through hundreds of resumes to hire 10 people. So you've got the issue of talent, and talent is not a single talent that you do or don't have. It's more like D&D. Okay, you've got a range of talents, and it's like a 3 to 18 roll. Experience, and I've known talented people. We hired an extremely talented person at Pages, and we fired him because he had such, and this actually is part of professionalism, he had such emotional issues, was critical of everyone else on the team, he was damaging the team, he was not helping us get to our goal, and we held on to him for 2 years and finally fired him. Yeah?
Just on the experience front, it always kind of bothers me that companies will like, how do you get around that? Like, I'm a new grad. Like, how do you get around that? I mean, you can try and do internships and stuff like that, but there's so many companies around here, especially for like something like data science. They're looking for people with like 5-10 years. Nobody has that experience because it's such a new field. Like, how do you present yourself in a way that doesn't like?
That's actually a whole more lengthy discussion. It's a very real issue, but the problem. Oh, and I haven't taken roll. We're losing people. Y'all get a free day. I'll mark everyone who's here today. I should take a roll right after the break. I mean, that's an age-old dilemma in any field. You know, they want experience. And yes, back in the 90s, you had places advertising for people with wanting programmers with 5 years job experience, and Java had been out for like 2 years. So that's a chronic issue. Really, and it's a cliche, but the best way to get a new job is to know someone. It's to have it in somewhere. If you don't, then you just got to keep poking around to get that first experience under your belt. Yes?
Well, I'd also mention, I've come to find that if you see issues in the recruitment, it may be an issue at the company too.
That's actually a good point. Is how is the company hiring? Are they basically screening everything through HR? Are they rejecting you because you don't have everything checked? My sister, who didn't have a degree, she had a master's degree in reading but changed into software engineering around 1980, was very gifted at it, but had her first break was that she knew someone. How many of you have seen Top Gun? You know, Kelly McGillis doing analysis of dogfights? That's pretty much my sister. And she and her fighter pilot husband were there at Top Gun when they were filming it. And she drove a black horse as well. But that was her first job as a programmer because she knew the head of the company. And she talked him into taking a chance on her. And she leveraged that into the long career in software. She and I worked together 3 different places. I don't want to drag this out. Read the article. Okay. Dead Sea Effect. I first saw this at Fannie Mae about 20 plus years ago. And it's a very real issue in organizations where the IT department is not functioning well. They hire people in. The good people realize it's not a great situation and they leave. The mediocre to bad people are like, hey, I've got a secure job. And they stay. And the quality of the overall IT organization steadily goes down. I have seen this in multiple places. It's not unique to IT. It's not true of all IT organizations. In fact, I've seen a lot of organizations just the opposite. They do a very good job of bringing in the best people and chasing off any who manage to make it through the screening process. But it's something to be aware of, particularly when you're interviewing and looking at a new position, whether it's straight out of college or you're doing a transfer for your current job, is what's the organization like? What seems to be the functioning within the organization? What's the quality of the people there? Yeah.
Are we going to discuss techniques for doing that?
Yes, we will. We will talk more about it. We'll talk later on the whole technique of evaluating where you're going into and trying to figure out what are the warning signs. We'll cover a lot of that in peopleware. Has anyone seen this phenomenon yourselves? I mean, I've seen it in multiple places. Yeah.
I just, the company that I interned at a while ago, I still follow them kind of on Glassdoor, and most of the reviews that come out that are negative, they say, all the best people are leaving, you know, and they are talking about how they walked away too, and it seems like you get more and more of that people are just like, all the best people are going away, we're still all here, and the company's dropping and dropping.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, I saw this at Fannie Mae back in DC. I was actually there supervising about 25 consultants for Object Systems Group. They had some good in-house talent, but I kept seeing all their best all their best software engineers and architects taking other jobs or moving into consulting, and just saw this decline. Now, by contrast, I've seen companies turn things around. I did a lot of project reviews at a financial company that's remained nameless. Unless you check what's in your wallet. And back in the late 90s, they had some really awful IT. And they had projects that actually went into review 3 times in 3 successive years, and each time they ignored what I had to say, and then they finally canceled the project and fired the EVP in charge of it. But I was back there about 10 to 15 years later, and they had profoundly upgraded their IT organization. They had some outstanding people. In fact, last time I was there, we were there reviewing some of their stuff, and one of the comments I made to their, effectively their CIO, he didn't have that role yet, but he was going to. I said, I don't know why you have us, that is OSG in here. I said, you've got people, very talented people in here who can tell you the same things we're telling you. Tony Gibson, head of OSG, brought me in to hit me after that. Never say that. Don't ever tell them why do they have us in there. They need us in there. But, so, you know, it is possible to turn organizations around, but it often takes time. Okay, I think you all know your assignments. Sorry that went longer than I thought, but hey, I'm just getting out 40 minutes early anyway.